Welcome. My name is Ása Aradóttir and I have been working with ecological restoration research and implementation for over 25 years. Currently, I'm a professor of restoration ecology and a studies committee member and a core teacher of the UNU Land Restoration Training Program. By now, you have seen why it is important to prevent land degradation and that healthy land is a key to reach the UN Sustainable Development Goals. In this video, we will explore the solutions that can be used when we have land that is in bad condition and performs under its potential. Many people depend on such degraded lands for their livelihood. So what can be done? Ecological restoration and sustainable land management are key components of the solution, and this video focuses on the former. After watching this video, you will be able to explain what ecological restoration is and what drives restoration activities. So what is ecological restoration? It is the process of assisting the recovery of an ecosystem that has been degraded, damaged, or destroyed. Note the use of words here: process, assisting, and recovery. Restorationists are not trying to mend something that is broken, like watchmakers mending broken watches, by replacing the broken structures and putting the pieces together again. The role of the restorationist is more like the role of a doctor that assists the recovery of a sick or injured patient. The doctor does that by operating on the patient or giving him or her medicines and by resting the injured part. All this helps the patient to get healthy again, although the healing process itself takes place within the body of the patient over time. Likewise, the recovery of a damaged ecosystem is a process that takes place within the ecosystem over time. It involves the recovery of ecosystem structure and important functions, such as retention of soil water, nutrient cycling, and energy capture. Ecological restoration is therefore about facilitating, speeding up, and trying to guide the improvement of land condition towards its potential or reference state. When thinking about restoration, many of us tend to focus on the restoration tools or the interventions applied in restoration. These are diverse depending on the type of ecosystem and the severity of the degradation. On badly eroded land, amendments to stabilize eroded surfaces and improve growing conditions for plants are common. Seeding or planting of missing key species are needed in many ecosystems, and restoration of drained wetlands may depend on the building of dams to restore the former water table. Other tools may include fire to change the vegetation cover and biodiversity, temporary protection from grazing or other traditional uses, etc. But it is important to keep in mind that these interventions are only means to facilitate the recovery of the ecosystem functions and structure that are needed to attain the goals of each restoration project. So what do we want to achieve when we restore land? Ecological restoration can take different forms, aiming to guide recovery of damaged ecosystems and prevent further degradation, to compensate for habitat loss, that is to mitigate or offset destruction of natural ecosystems due to construction of, for example, roads or due to mining activities, to increase the delivery of a variety of ecosystem services, such as food or fiber production, provision of clean water, carbon sequestration, or even opportunities for recreation, to enhance resilience of ecosystems to disturbances such as floods, droughts, ashfall associated with volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, etc. These goals will shape the objectives of different restoration projects. Some are complementary, but others may call for different ecosystem properties. Although goals and objectives of restoration can be diverse, improvement of land condition is a common theme to them all. It is a common misconception that restoration aims at replicating exactly former or historic ecosystem states. This is unrealistic in most cases due to changes in socioeconomic conditions and expectations, as well as changes in environmental conditions, including climate change, that affect ecosystems. In most cases, restoration projects are implemented where people live or have need for ecosystem services. Restoration goals therefore need to be realistic and linked to the goods and services human societies get from ecosystems. And they have to be set in the context of socioeconomic reality of each region. What drives land restoration? I guess it has become obvious to you at this point. It is the poor condition of many of Earth's ecosystems and the loss of their capacity to provide services and support livelihoods that often drives restoration. We can classify the drivers for restoration into direct drivers and indirect drivers, just as we did with the drivers of degradation. Maybe you notice that these are actually the same as the drivers of land degradation. What drives and inspires restoration today is also that we have realized that our future depends on continuous services from nature. We have realized that restoration isn't just ecologically desirable, but also economically and socially needed. It is good business to repair damaged land, but bad business to allow land to become degraded. We have already talked about resilience, the ability of ecosystems to resist change or bounce back to a healthy state after disturbances. Land in good condition, healthy ecosystems, generally have strong prevention and self-repair mechanisms. If land degradation is not too severe, changes in land management to reduce pressures from human-induced disturbances, for example grazing or agricultural mismanagement, may be sufficient to induce ecosystem recovery without further interventions. When this is the case, we recommend that you look at the WOCAT database that contains diverse examples of sustainable land management. You can find a link to this database in the background material on the course webpage. If disturbance, however, exceeds the ecosystem's capacity for self-repair, even though its management is improved, the ecosystem has crossed a threshold. To enable the ecosystem recovery, we need to identify the nature of the threshold and apply interventions to overcome it. Two main types of thresholds or obstacles to self-repair of damaged ecosystems have been identified. These are biotic thresholds, such as competition, grazing, or lack of pollinators, and abiotic thresholds, such as lack of nutrients, soil erosion, or frost heaving. The implementation and maintenance of restoration projects can also be hindered by a number of socio-economic obstacles, such as land tenure, lack of funding, lack of knowledge, or negative attitudes and contrasting interests. We will discuss different obstacles and means to overcome them in more detail in the next video.